Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I decided, we're not quite there, but we're approaching the 2-year anniversary of when I picked up the PlayStation 5. And so I thought it'd be fun for us to go through and see what my PlayStation 5 collection looks like 2 years in. What have I picked up physically for the console? PS5 has definitely been my primary console this generation for a couple different reasons. One, I just kind of tend to favor Sony. I really like the UI and stuff on PlayStation consoles. There's definitely no denying that I'm a bit of a trophy guy. That addiction has only increased over the last year or two. And finally, the PS5 controller. I think that the PlayStation 5 controller is one of the best controllers of all time. I mean, the Xbox One controller is certainly very good, and actually the Switch Pro controller is really good too. But something about the PlayStation 5 controller, it's hard to beat. Especially when you first boot up the PlayStation 5, you play that Astro's Playroom, and you do that little controller demo where you're feeling like the rockets and all sorts of the haptics. When it's implemented really well, I think that it's kind of like best in class. So this is definitely the platform that I have all my physical games for. In fact, I do have a Series X, but now that I think about it, I don't own a single physical Xbox Series X games. Now, Xbox One and Series X are kind of blurred, but I don't own a single physical game for those consoles. It's all digital, all Game Pass. But we're going to go through. We've got a decent stack here, and I'll just give you either my impressions on them, why I picked them up, a quick overview of what they are and why I have them physically. Starting with a game that I am I'm kind of famously a defender of, and that's Balian Wonderworld. So this is a phenomenal game. Okay, that's not true. This is a better game than you've probably heard. This game was definitely the punching bag for basically platformer fans and everyone when it first came out, and that was definitely unfounded. If you've played this game, and I think folks that have played this game would generally agree, it's rough around the edges, but it's still not bad. It feels a lot like a GameCube or like a Dreamcast third-party platformer. Maybe like a Super Magnetic Neo, if that means anything to you. Where, yeah, it's not like as polished as a mainline 3D platformer. It's no Jack, Spyro, Mario, whatever. But it was still a lot of fun. If I have anything to complain about with this, it's just that it overstays its welcome a little bit. I think that it's a little longer than it needs to be. But this is a game that I really like, and definitely was happy to pick up a physical copy. I think this one comes with, it comes with like a little ticket. I won't show you the rest inside here because it's got Square Enix members rewards points, but Balian Wonderworld, good game. Next up here, this is Cris Tales or Cris Tales. I'm not actually sure how you pronounce that one. Cool idea for this game. If you've never seen it before, it is it's a turn-based JRPG, and the whole kind of setup is that you're dealing with time. So the screen is often split into different time periods, like past, present, and future, and you can manipulate time a little bit in battles, and you use that to weaken or damage enemies. So some examples would be, you could cast water magic in the past on an armored enemy, and then fast forward to the future, and that armor would rust because it's been wet for years, right? Or you can apply a poison debuff to enemies, and then when you fast forward to the future, all that poison damage ticks all at one time. So a really cool idea, very striking art style. Something about it, though, I think it was maybe just a little too simplistic for me at the time, in terms of the damage values and the difficulty. So I didn't play it for more than a few hours. I think definitely worth checking out if you are a JRPG fan. Very unique game. Just didn't fully grip me the way I kind of expected it to right out of the gate, but do not regret owning a physical copy, that's for sure. Next up here, this one is still sealed because I played this actually on PC a year or two ago. That's Cthulhu Saves Christmas. This is a Zeboyd Games, so the folks that made Breath of Death and the old Penny Arcades, and Cosmic Star Heroine's probably their most famous game. This is a really interesting game because it's kind of like a Nightmare Before Christmas, where it's one of the few games that's appropriate to play for Halloween and for Christmas. Really good turn-based JRPG. Zeboyd has a really firm grasp on like intelligent, nuanced RPG design with regards to the combat. You're never just spamming attack in these games, especially if you play on some of the harder difficulties. It's always well considered. Your items are meaningful. Your skills are meaningful. Really cool game. Very unique. And I was very excited when Limited Run actually did a physical copy of this. In fact, I didn't realize this at the time, but this was the first game that Limited Run did in their PS5 line. So, good one. Next up here, Deathloop, which was a PlayStation exclusive at the time, I think no longer is. But I've never played any of the Dishonored games, which this is very much in the vein of. But I have to say this one was pretty good. You know, very stylish. They do a really good job of capturing that kind of like The Spy Who Loved Me, No One Lives Forever sort of tone, I guess. And the levels are very well designed. They're very interesting. Sometimes it was a little clunky, and I wish that there was a little bit more freedom to do things at your own pace. Like you essentially are trying to find the one path that works. There's not as much opportunity for flexibility in terms of getting the final ending. But super creative, very good. For a genre like this style of game, sort of stealth action shooter, I don't play a lot of these, and I thought this was a good time. Good characters, too. Got the platinum in that. Next up, one of the launch games that I picked up, Demon Souls, a phenomenal remake of the PS3 game and a game that I really love. I think that they did really good. I know that there was some controversy around like the designs looking a little different. Folks were a little disappointed that they sucked some of the like dreary, like light bloomed atmosphere out. And I see that point, but what I always say is the old game is still there. If you want to see this world up-resed, beautiful, running smoothly, with essentially zero loading times, this is an excellent version of that game to try out. And if you want that like gloomy, moody, a little bit more oppressive atmosphere, you can still play the PS3 one. I mean, I know PS3 is a little harder to hook up and play these days, but it is there for you if you want it. So, really good game. Loved replaying that one. One that I have not gotten to yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about, is Doki Doki Literature Club. Always a little weird to get a PS5 version of a visual novel, but yeah, this is definitely one that I have been meaning to get to for a long time. I know, no spoilers, but I know that there are some twists and turns that this game takes, which I think I have sort of had loosely spoiled, but I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what it does for myself. I do like these games that are kind of like more than meets the eye. Next up here we have a little hidden gem, Elden Ring. Maybe you've heard of it. And the Steelbook that came with my pre-ordered version from Best Buy, I think Best Buy. Elden Ring, obviously incredible. I think that this is probably my second favorite from game after Demon Souls. Maybe Dark Souls 1. Hard to say. But either way, excellent game. Played this through. I did kind of like a dexterity build, dexterity strength, and used my Bloodhound Fang. And I beat all the optional bosses. I got all the endings. I got the platinum in this one. Loved my time with it. I inhaled this game when it came out. Right? I put like 100 hours into it, and I did that in probably a week or two. Not a week, but probably 2 weeks. Just, like most, was fully enthralled, fully sucked in. And it plays great on the PS5. We have next up a recent edition, actually. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. I played this on launch on PS4 when it came out. My PS4 games are tragically not alphabetized right now, but it's somewhere. It's back there somewhere. I just wanted to finally get the upgraded version, the Intergrade version, and the PS5 copy. And I happened to find it at a pawn shop for 12 ducks. No birds. No birds were hurt in the purchase of this game. $12 at the time. Yeah, no regrets. I'm very excited. I will definitely replay this. I have not done the Intergrade content yet, the Yuffie stuff. And overall, I'm just happy to finally have the upgraded version available to me. I felt a little light. I was like, is the disc in there? It was. Next up here, another game that's sealed because I played this game digitally. I bought it digitally and then later a physical version came out. Forgotten City. A really cool adventure time loop game. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but the whole concept of the game is that you are sort of brought into this Roman city where everyone adheres to the golden rule, which is essentially if anybody sins, everyone is turned into gold. And so it's like an open sandbox environment. You can walk around, talk to people. They have their own motivations and stuff. Sometimes they will try to sin and you have to stop them. Sometimes you can convince them to sin, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, how to leave. And the story takes some really interesting twists and turns. So not too long of a playthrough, very clever, and a game that when I finished it, I was like, that was good. But as time goes on, I just keep thinking about Forgotten City, and so I would highly recommend that folks check this out. Next up here, Godfall. I did not play too much of this. This was one of the first games I got post-launch on the PS5. I have to say, what I did play was fun. Like, I enjoyed my time with this game. I think I just got distracted by other stuff. There was other things going on. And after 2 hours or so, I set it down and didn't come back to it. So maybe I should have sold it off and rebought it later. But yeah, I mean, for bargain bin prices, you could do a lot worse than Godfall. And another one that I just picked up from a GameFly sale is Ghostwire Tokyo. Really excited to check this one out. Some folks I follow online that I kind of trust their opinion have compared this to like a good PS2 open world kind of like, well, open city game. And I like the mix of like, it's not a horror game, but it's got a little bit of that like demon yokai sort of energy. Really seems like something that I would enjoy. I hope to play it by the end of the year, because on my Twitch page, and I always release a video for this too, I always build my top 10 games of the year, and this is one that I want to have played by the end of the year, because I think I would like it enough for it to potentially make a top 10. We will see. I just got that a couple weeks ago. This is one that I got from Limited Run and have not checked out yet, still sealed. Haven. This is I think like an RPG, maybe a little bit of platformer. Has some of the visual vibe of like a Breath of the Wild, but I don't think it plays much like that. This is a game all about relationships. Like the relationship between these two main characters is very important. And I've heard that it's actually handled pretty well. So this is one that I'm waiting to play with my partner. She and I have it on the docket of the many things that we play together. I just have not found the time yet. And so we will get around to this one when the opportunity presents itself. All right. Next up here, one that I bought for potential streaming in October, kind of on impulse, and I have not played yet, In Sound Mind. Very interesting game where you're kind of like going into the mind of this character to figure out, I guess, their life, their story, whatever it may be. Kind of a colorful horror game, which is pretty unique. And I think I got this at GameStop for like $20 at some point, so I picked it up and have not... Oh yeah, definitely a GameStop, because it has their weird like... their like pseudo seal. Like this wasn't a new copy, but it was their last copy, so they put it in this bag. But I have not played that one yet, and tragically, I don't think it'll make the cut this October. My horror list is pretty full. Beautiful game, another one I have digitally and was excited to get the physical copy. Kena Bridge of Spirits. Easily one of my favorite games of the year it came out, which was last year, if I'm recalling correctly. Ember Lab did an incredible job. Beautiful world. This one really does play like a PS2 era action platformer, which is right up my alley. I love that type of game. I loved all the characters. Really interesting, very unique soundtrack in this game. There's just nothing else like it. It has a production value that punches way above its weight class. Like, you would not believe this was an indie game if you weren't aware. And part of that is owed to the fact that this studio has talent that had previously done computer animation, but hey, it works. High recommendation that you play Kena Bridge of Spirits. I think that this digital deluxe edition has like a little bit of extra DLC, but I don't think it's too much. There's not like major expansions to this game, so pick this up and play it any way you can. Another one that I got at the same time as Ghostwire Tokyo is Lake. This is an indie game where you basically just drive around your hometown delivering mail, talking to characters. Kind of a walking sim type of deal, but really interesting to me. I love that like small town sort of setting for a game like this. My dad actually worked for the post office for a lot of his life, and so the fact that you're a postal carrier is actually pretty interesting to me, but it's just, I got it in October, and I'm not playing stuff like this in October. This is much more of a, like a springtime or a fall post-October game, so we'll see if we can get to that. Next up is the import Klonoa Reverie Fantasy Series. This is the Klonoa 1 and 2 remakes. Two of my all-time favorite 2D platformers, or 2.5D platformers. I was so pumped when these were getting a remake, and I think that they did a really good job with these. Probably, you know, the PS1 has its own style, it has its own vibe, and in some ways the PS1, especially the first game, maybe has a little bit more impact in the story scenes because they were like computer animated. But gosh, this is a great way to play these games. I don't think a physical copy has been announced for North America yet, but I needed to own a physical of this because I love this series so much, so I grabbed the PAL import version. Pick this up. Play these. It's on Switch, it's on everything. Ooh, this is another one that I played on PS4 and just upgraded to the PS5 copy and have not swapped out the PS4 version yet. Again, it's probably up there somewhere. Made of Skur. I played this last year, maybe 2020. I'm not 100% sure. But really interesting horror game. Takes place in a hotel, and it's all about sound. Sound is a big component, so it's all about staying quiet because enemies can't see you, but they can all hear you. So, really, I highly recommend this one as a horror game for folks. Do check this out. Shifting around because I'm sitting on my knees and I'm starting to go a little numb. Next up is Spider-Man Miles Morales. This is another one of the launch day games that I got. I had never played Spider-Man 2018, and this came packaged with a remastered version of Spider-Man 2018. So I played the remastered version and Miles Morales. I actually played Miles Morales about a year later, around Christmas time, which I would highly recommend that people consider. This is a really good Christmas game because it takes place in New York during Christmas time. But both of these games are, you know, excellent action games. I don't think there's much that I need to say about these. These are smash hits that there's a lot of other people on the internet that probably have a lot more to say. But if you like Sony first party stuff, or if you're interested in the Spider-Man character or any of that, an easy pickup and a great set of games. Very comfortable platinum trophies too, if that's what you're into. It doesn't take too much to get them. Next up here is The Medium, and funny enough, it has a sticker on here. So The Medium is a survival horror game that came out by Bloober Team that did, I think, also Layers of Fear. I have not played this one. I've been wanting to get around to it for a while now. The reason that it has this 8 on it is every year as I'm preparing my month of horror streams, so every October I stream exclusively horror or Halloween adjacent games, which is a good variety of scary stuff and like Halloween appropriate stuff. Highly recommend you come check out the Twitch page if you want to see any of that. But I always prepare for that month of streams by mapping out how many hours I'm going to have available to stream, pulling a bunch of horror games, retro and modern, and then looking up on how long to beat, the estimated time to complete it, so I can sort of map out how many hours of my streams can I dedicate to each game, how many games can I fit in per month, etc. And so this must have been an 8-hour long game. This is another one that I've yet to get around to. It just keeps getting bumped out by slightly higher priority stuff. But I'm such a sucker for anything survival horror. And you'll see there's at least one other example of that coming up. I'll kind of pick up any survival horror stuff I see because I know I'm going to be interested in checking it out at some point. I've heard this game is decent though. You know, maybe not the best survival horror game out there, but this was a Xbox exclusive, I think, for a while, and now is on everything. Oh, speak of the devil, the next one is one of those horror games. This is Oxide Room 104. I do not know anything about this one, unfortunately. This was a horror pickup that was an impulse. It was pretty cheap on a GameFly sale. Again, same time as I bought a couple of the other games that I've talked about. And it's just some janky-ish looking, unique survival horror. I'll let you know my opinions on it when I do play it. Although interesting is that it's published by Perp Games, which I always think of as a PlayStation VR publisher, but I guess that they're publishing non-VR stuff too. I think this also was in that GameFly sale. There was like a bundle of like 5 or 6 games I got recently. And that's PacMan World Repack. This is the physical edition of the remake of PacMan World. And I love this like era of PacMan. I don't think I actually ever played the first Pac-Man World, but I played Pac-Man World 2 on GameCube, and I liked that one quite a bit. So, I always go in for the 3D platformers. This is like squarely in my genre preference. This is right in my nostalgia for my wheelhouse for nostalgia. It's just targeted at me. So I couldn't resist it. I think it was like $20, and I will definitely be playing through this one once October passes us by. And I'm just looking for something cozy, something chill, low effort, just some good, comfy gaming. One of my favorite PlayStation 5 games, the Pathless. I love this game. If you love games like Journey, or obviously Abzu, which is by the same developer, this is a really good open world, kind of like puzzle exploration game. Super fluid movement. You're doing all sorts of like gliding and diving around these big open grassy worlds, all sorts of like trick shots, huge verticality, a lot of heights, and it's beautiful in motion. There's very few games that look as good as the Pathless, I think, and great story to it, incredible soundtrack, Austin Wintory. So yeah, just an absolute winner all around. Highly recommend you check out the Pathless however you can. What's cool is that the physical version from I Am 8-Bit came with some like postcard art cards and a poster. Next up, well-known Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Again, a great action platformer, 3D platformer on the PlayStation. I'm always a little bit more of a Jak and Daxter guy. Like, please, let's remake Jak 1, or can we get a new Jak and Daxter game? I know that those studios are off doing other things, but I've not played as much Ratchet and Clank, or I haven't played as many Ratchet and Clank games. But this one was really good. Beautiful game, one of the best looking games on PlayStation 5. Super fun. Nice variety in weapons, nice variety in locations. Cute story. Yeah, just like a real good showpiece for how good modern games have started looking. Compare this to like the original Ratchet and Clanks, and it's like, we have come far. Quite far. Love this game. I know it's a bit divisive, but Returnal. This is by Housemarque and is a third-person shooter roguelike. Very difficult game, tough to get through to the end. I like the vibe of this game. It's got like a real sort of Prometheus aliens thing going on. Very hostile to the player, but that encourages me. It makes me want to keep pushing through and seeing what's going on. Some real creepy, eerie sort of stuff in the story. Beautiful locations. I think like the architecture and the environmental design and everything about this game is just so interesting. It's so mysterious. I have not gone back since they released that tower mode, and I do want to clean up the platinum a little bit, but easily one of the like top exclusives for PlayStation. I super recommend folks check out Returnal. And if you're having trouble with it, give it a little bit of time. It is a punishing game. There isn't a lot of systems in place to make future runs easier, so it can really feel disheartening sometimes. But man, if you take the time to learn these systems, you are going to be so rewarded with one of the best games. Certainly one of the most interesting PlayStation exclusives that you'll ever play. We have Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. I got this at the same time as Final Fantasy VII Remake, if you recall. Have not played this one yet. This is another one that's on the docket for playing by the end of the year. I am here. I'm looking to kill chaos, but I have not done so yet. Seems like my kind of thing, right? It's Final Fantasy. It's janky. Seems like it'll be sort of corny. Everything I want in a game. So probably November, this will be one of the higher priorities. This and Ghostwire will be two things that I get around to checking out in hopes to play them before Game of the Year time. Another early launch game, Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Very cute. Sort of like Super Mario 3D World style platformer. It's a 3D platformer, but sort of on tracks, A to B, rather than big open environments. I'm actually not much of a Little Big Planet fan. In fact, I'm not a Little Big Planet fan. I've never gotten into any of the Little Big Planet games, but this game works great as a standalone platformer. Super recommend it to folks that are looking for something really chill and optimistic and colorful and fun. Great co-op game. I played this a lot with a friend of mine, Ari Lewis 2011. We did some trophy hunting, and really good. I like Sackboy quite a bit. Really good horror game, Tormented Souls. If you are a fan of, Silent Hill 2, Resident Evil 2, that sort of PS1, PS2 era of tank control survival horror. This is 100% an homage to those. It plays just like those games, but it's upgraded visually, beautiful. All those classic puzzles, right down to the fact that some of them are kind of obtuse and weird. Very scary game, very tense game. Easily one of the higher recommendations in terms of survival horror in the last couple years. Really, really good. And I think this is the first game from the studio, so I'm quite excited to see what comes next from them, because they clearly know what makes for good survival horror, and I want to see where they can go. Give us the Tormented Souls 2 as well. And finally, Yakuza Like a Dragon. This is the PS5 version of the 7th Yakuza game. Love this entire series. I have not played all of them, but every game I've played has been amazing. Super funny, super cute. This is, famously the one that switches to more JRPG style combat instead of a beat 'em up brawler. But they handle it very gracefully. All the characters are super likable in this. I was having a ton of fun. I got probably 25 hours into this and then put it down to play some other stuff. And this has been the guilty game for probably a year now. I really need to go back and finish this one up, especially because new Yakuza game just got announced. So this is definitely top priority to go back and finish. But one of my favorite games on the system, and super, super good. And yeah, that's it. That's everything that I currently own for the PlayStation 5. So I didn't do a count. I probably should have. Something like 25 games or so, which I think we're doing pretty good. There's still tons of stuff on my wish list. We're always doing that kind of delicate balance of PS4 upgrades to PS5. When do I switch to the new version, etc. But loving the system. Can't wait to keep picking up games for it. Keep playing cool games. Keep collecting for it. If there's anything out there that you have on PlayStation 5 physically that you would recommend that I pick up, please let me know. I'm always looking for stuff that is interesting, unique, exclusive, maybe some indie stuff that got releases that you didn't see here. If you didn't see me pick it up on PS5, it is possible. Maybe I've got it on Switch. Maybe I have it on PS4, but I'm always looking for recommendations. Please. I'd love to hear about them. So thanks everyone for sticking all the way through to the end of this if you did. Please feel free to hang out if you enjoyed. There will be more videos coming soon about similar topics, my collections, game room, stuff like that. As always, you can go check out the Twitch page, twitch.tv/Blankoom. And otherwise, just have a good day. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being cool. And I will catch you in the next one.